Well, thanks very much for that conference. And I have to say I'm quite pleased with some of the things that Ed has said today. Ed has said that they would use borrowing powers and reserves for no-cuts budgets, that it requires a mass campaign, that they'd involve other socialist voices, and that this summit is going to go ahead in September. I think those are all positive things that we can take from this meeting. And in a way, it doesn't surprise me what Ed has said, because when I was campaigning during the council elections, I spoke to 5 Green campaigners, 3 of which backed our campaign 100% for no-cuts budgets. 1 wasn't sure and wanted to know a bit more, and only 1 opposed, and that was somebody who'd previously been an economics advisor in Momentum. I think the big question is, how is this going to be organised? And again, Ed witnessed the poll tax struggle. I know there's some of you, including myself, that was involved in building that struggle. And there are 2 slight differences between the poll tax struggle and the Liverpool struggle that I just want to spend a bit of time drawing out. The poll tax struggle was fantastic and it defeated Thatcher. But it was a campaign in a sense where the whole of the working class was affected, but the whole of the labour and trade union movement abandoned the working class in that particular struggle. And it was down to individual organisers, of which actually the militant, the forerunners of the Socialist Party, played a really important role of organising the mass non-payment campaign. And even at the beginning, by the way, that was up for debate, whether it should be mass non-payment or whether it should be a whole range of other things instead. And we organised that campaign, but that campaign wasn't left just to individuals to do. It was democratically organised so that we could meet, so that we could discuss and decide policy, interventions, how we would defend working class communities, and it was eventually successful. I can still remember Heseltine standing at the dispatch box to this day saying, we've been unable to convince the British population to pay the poll tax when they abandoned it. One of the greatest days in British history. But the Liverpool campaign was necessarily a different campaign. And the District Labour Party played an absolutely key role in making sure that those elected representatives were held accountable. I was just flicking through this book, Liverpool, the City That Dared to Fight, which for a couple of bits of information. And even reading one page, the first page I went to, it said that the District Labour Party was built on the basis of the struggles of the working class of Liverpool, the anti-privatisation campaigns and strikes that took place, the campaigns against school closures, the campaigns on housing. Those were key campaigns that the District Labour Party used to build the authority of the District Labour Party and to hold the councillors to account. Now, by the way, there's absolutely nothing in the Labour Party's constitution that said that any councillors had to be held to account by anybody other than the chief whip of that particular council. They could go away and do whatever they like. But it was different in Liverpool because the councillors agreed that they were going to be held account by the District Labour Party. And the role that they played, again in terms of determining policy, the trade unions and the elected delegates to that body decided policy, decided strategy, and held the councillors to account and managed to keep them into account. Now, I think that that's a really important lessons that hopefully Ed can take away. He can also buy a copy of the book because it's on the stall there. I would completely recommend it. But I hope that's something that Ed can take away, because when we talk about building a mass movement, there are details and nuts and bolts that are really essential for us to take into account so that we can do that. And there's nothing stopping Greens organised councillors from organising conferences in their boroughs that would include delegates from trade unions, in particular local community campaigns, and those Greens organised councillors saying, we will be held to account by those bodies in our local areas to fight the cuts and to have a serious and determined cut. Now, I can't speak completely on behalf of Tusk. I know I'm here to speak on behalf of Tusk, but I can't make those decisions. But I'm sure that how Tusk would work with Greens organised in those situations and those circumstances is something that they would certainly discuss, possibly at the next steering committee, and perhaps invite yourself and other members of Green Organised to discuss that, how that can be done. Linda made the point, we're here to help. I think that's absolutely true. In the struggle against austerity, Greens Organised will need all the backing and experience it can get from those that have been through it. And trust me, there are many of us in this room that have been through it one way or another. And just to finish on this, it's not just Greens we're asking this of. I live in Tower Hamlets. We've got an Aspire Council. We're going to be asking them to do the same thing as well. We're also, this conference is going to make a decision now, hopefully, that it's going to demand that the trade unionists here go back and work in their branches on no-cuts budgets. And that's what our movement is about, and that's how we can build that movement, I believe, that could bring about the end of austerity if we go ahead and organise. And I'd also say this, and again, I'm sure the steering committee of Tusk will consider this, that if, as we did in Liverpool, Greens faced expulsions, suspensions, and all sorts of other things, if it's part of a mass campaign, I'm sure that we'd be prepared to look at how we worked with you, stood aside if necessary when there are elections coming on, fielded our own candidates in a collaborative way so that we could strengthen and develop a campaign, because, again, with this weak government, we can defeat austerity, but we can also develop a movement that could lead to the socialist transformation of society.